It started quietly. A forgotten phone, a sudden silence when I entered a room, subtle smiles that vanished too quickly. At first, I laughed off my suspicion, labeling myself paranoid, desperate to cling to the comfort of trust. My wife, Rachel, was my world. We'd spent 8 years crafting a life, building a home, dreams, a future. The first real hint dropped during dinner. Rachel mentioned an overnight business trip, her eyes flickering briefly as she spoke, voice casual, perhaps too casual. I nodded, pretending nothing felt out of place, swallowing down the lump forming in my throat. But suspicion once awakened does not sleep again easily. At first, I brushed everything off. She started texting more often, but I told myself it was just work. She changed her phone's wallpaper to a picture of a coastline I didn't recognize. I asked about it, and she said it was from her last conference in Oregon. It looked more like the Mediterranean, but I let it go. Soon, other subtle signs emerged. Rachel began wearing dresses I'd never seen, claiming they were old, forgotten purchases. I found a movie ticket stub in her coat pocket, one for a foreign film I knew she wouldn't watch alone. When I brought it up, she smiled and said she needed some solo time to escape the daily noise. Fair enough, I thought. Who doesn't need that? Her playlists changed, filling our home with unfamiliar songs that felt strangely personal, as if linked to memories she wasn't sharing with me. She hummed tunes I'd never heard her listen to before. Her laughter altered slightly, lighter and freer, yet never in response to something I'd said. She began commenting on small things about me. My cologne smelled different. I was snoring more. Once she asked if I ever thought about traveling separately on vacations. She framed it as self-care, space to grow, and I tried to take it that way. But it sat wrong in my chest. Rachel's trips grew frequent, each absence deepening the hollow pit in my gut. Her behavior shifted subtly. New perfume, extended gym hours, guarded phone use, whispered conversations abruptly halted when she noticed my presence. One time, she left her laptop open with a tab labeled Private Browsing. When I looked again, it was gone. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. One evening, I returned unexpectedly early from work. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I walked in, and Rachel looked startled, quickly closing her laptop. She smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. She said she was just catching up on work emails. The room smelled faintly of her new perfume, the one she said she wore only for special occasions. I clung to the familiar. The shared meals, the weekend routines, her sleepy murmurs in bed. I convinced myself these were just small things. Everyone changes. Marriages go through phases. I told myself that over and over. Then one night, as I lay awake, I realized I couldn't remember the last time Rachel touched me without hesitation. The kind of touch that said she saw me, not just the man who paid bills or fixed the leaking faucet, but me. That absence hurt more than I expected. Eventually, I did what I told myself I wouldn't. I checked her messages, not by hacking or snooping. I just glanced when her screen lit up beside me in bed, a name I didn't know. A message. Next Friday's perfect. Can't wait. That was it. Nothing explicit. Nothing obvious. But it wasn't for me. One night, I decided to follow her. I felt like a fool, even considering it, like some insecure teenager. But curiosity had hardened into quiet desperation. Hunched low in the darkness of my car, palms sweating, heartbeat deafening, Rachel left work early, drove to a quiet restaurant far from home. From the shadowed parking lot, I watched as another man greeted her warmly, pulling her into an embrace. Not passionate, not obvious, but familiar. Familiar in the way couples move together without thinking. My stomach tightened painfully. I didn't confront her. Not then. Instead, I methodically gathered proof, determined to ensure my revenge was precise, undeniable. I became a ghost in my own life, watching from corners. Weeks passed as I quietly documented everything. Receipts from intimate dinners, timestamps from her increasingly careless messages, and discreetly captured photos. I started sleeping in the guest room, blaming back pain. Rachel barely noticed. I began journaling obsessively, not because I wanted to heal, but because I wanted to remember. I wanted to be exact. Memories began to corrode. The beach trip where she laughed for hours suddenly felt staged. The anniversary dinner she organized last year. Was that guilt? Was it penance? I replayed old conversations in my head, examining them like a detective in a cold case. I wasn't living anymore. I was compiling. My obsession deepened, fueled by the need for control, a silent countdown ticking within. Rachel never noticed my careful silence, too wrapped in her own deceptive glow. Our home became a stage where she played the part of a loving wife, and I played the part of a blind husband. But behind the curtain, I was setting the trap. The climax arrived at our annual neighborhood barbecue, the day filled with laughter, community, and pretense. Friends and neighbors surrounded us, unaware of the storm beneath my calm exterior. When dusk fell and conversation lulled, I calmly suggested we all gather around the outdoor screen I'd set up. A slideshow to celebrate community achievements, I'd said earlier. Rachel smiled, unsuspecting. I clicked play. The first photos appeared innocent. Neighborhood cleanups, birthday celebrations, pets doing something funny. People laughed, clapped. Rachel sat beside me, drink in hand. Then the images shifted. A dinner table set for two. A blurry shot from across the street of Rachel leaning over to kiss someone. A receipt with her signature. 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine. Nothing explicit, nothing obscene. But the accumulation was crushing. The crowd grew quiet, confused murmurs rising as the slides turned into a collage of silence, a pattern that only one person in the crowd could recognize as damning. Rachel's hand froze on her glass. Her smile faltered. One final slide. Her name, the date of the next trip, and a closing line. Sometimes the truth doesn't need to scream. It just needs to be seen. Gasps rippled through our guests. Rachel's face drained of color, eyes wide, finally meeting mine in horror. The betrayal she'd woven so quietly now stood exposed, unmistakable, irreversible. I watched silently, feeling neither victory nor remorse, only a strange sense of finality. Rachel's humiliation was thorough, precise, and exactly the justice my shattered trust demanded. Our eyes locked briefly as she fled into the night, broken and ashamed. Alone amid murmurs and whispers, I felt relief. Not because I'd destroyed her, but because the truth, at last, was undeniable. And in the silence that followed, I felt something else rise inside me. Not joy, not peace, but space. The empty space betrayal left behind. And in that space, I could finally begin again.